In this tutorial we're going to be learning how to crochet the pumpkin patch stitch. This is actually a stitch that I came up with myself and I'm so excited to finally be sharing it with you. So let's jump in. Start by making a slip knot using your preferred method, and then your starting chain needs to be a multiple of 6 plus 2. For the purposes of this tutorial, my starting chain is going to be 20. So row 1 is kind of a setup row because it's a little different to all of our future rows. Start by making a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. That's a double crochet in US terms. Those 3 chains that we skipped counts as the first double crochet of the row. Next, work a double crochet into each chain across to the end of the row, and I'll meet you at the end of row 1. So here I am at the end of row 1, and we're going to temporarily stop crocheting with this colour, but we're not going to cut our yarn. So I'm going to take the loop out of my crochet hook, and then I've grabbed a locking stitch marker and I'm just going to pop it in my stitch to stop it unravelling. Just like that. We're now going to join some orange yarn to crochet our pumpkins. To join the orange yarn, pick up your crochet and turn it over. Then put your crochet hook into that first stitch there next to our stitch marker. Lay your yarn over the top of your crochet hook and pull up a loop. Next, lay your yarn tail over the top of your crochet hook. This allows us to lock it into place with our first chain and stops it unravelling. You will still, however, have to come back and weave these ends in. Start by making 2 chains, 1, 2. These don't count as a stitch, we're actually going to be crocheting over the top of them in the next row. Skip the next stitch, and into the stitch after that we're going to make a stitch called a 4 double crochet cluster. It's abbreviated as a 4DCCL. So to make a 4 double crochet cluster, yarn over, skip 1, put your hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. You should now have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2. So this here is a partial double crochet. We're going to be making 3 more partial double crochets into the same stitch. Yarn over, put your hook into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, put your hook into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, put your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. We've now got 5 loops on our crochet hook. Yarn over and pull through all 5 loops. So that is a 4 double crochet cluster. We made 4 partial double crochets and connected them all at the top. This forms half of our first pumpkin. Into the next stitch, make another 4 double crochet cluster, exactly the same as we just did. Yarn over, put your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, put your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, put your hook into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, put your hook into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. You should now have 4 partial double crochets worked into the next stitch and 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 5 loops. So if I turn this over, that is our pumpkin made. Next, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip the next 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and work a 4 double crochet cluster into the next stitch. So skip, 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 then a 4 double crochet cluster into this stitch, and then another 4 double crochet cluster into the next stitch. So there's my first 4 double crochet cluster, just the same as we did over here. Feel free to rewind and slow down if you need to. Then another 4 double crochet cluster into the next stitch, and you're going to repeat this all the way across your row, so doing a chain 4, skip 4, then 2 4 double crochet clusters in the next 2 stitches. So repeat that all the way across until you've got 2 stitches left unworked, and I'll meet you there and I'll show you how we fasten off this row. So I've continued working all the way along my row. I've just done 2 4 double crochet clusters, and I've got 2 stitches left unworked. To finish off this row, chain 1, skip 1, then slip stitch in the last stitch, which is the turning chain from the last round. So I'm doing a slip stitch in that stitch there. Then we're going to fasten off this colour, make 1 chain, cut your yarn tail, leaving an end long enough to weave in later. Use your crochet hook to pull that end through that chain, give it a little pull to fasten off. So for row 3, we're going to go back and put that loop that we left on hold over here back onto our crochet hook. So I'm going to put that loop back on my hook like this, and we're actually going to work along this row again, and we're going to be crocheting over the top of these chains to make our pumpkins pop out at the back. So start by making a chain of 3. That counts as your first double crochet stitch. So we're going to be crocheting over the top of our chains and not into them. We're going to be crocheting into the stitches in this neutral beige colour below and not into the orange colour for this row. So I'm going to make a double crochet in this stitch here, catching this chain with my stitch. So I'm just making a double crochet like that, pretending the chain is not there. So I've kind of covered that chain over. Next, chain 2, and then skip those 2 4 double crochet clusters. So we're skipping all of these orange stitches, and we're going to work a double crochet in the next stitch. So this stitch here, and we're going to catch this chain as we do it. So I like to bring that chain down so it's ready to crochet over, and then we're going to work a double crochet in that stitch there. You can see how it's caught my chain completely, and it actually hides the chain, and it's what makes these pumpkins look separate even though they're all worked in the same row. So we're now going to do 3 more double crochets in the next 3 stitches, catching this chain 4 here. So I'm going in there, making sure I'm catching this chain completely inside my crochet stitch. And again, another double crochet, catching that chain, and another double crochet, catching the chain. Next, chain 2, skip the pumpkin and repeat across, so do a double crochet into the next 4 stitches, catching that chain, chain 2, skip the pumpkin. Continue all the way along until you've just done your chain 2 to skip this pumpkin, and I'll meet you over here to do our last 2 stitches because they can be a little fiddly, so I'll take you through it step by step. So I've continued repeating those stitches all the way along, and I've just done a chain 2 over the top of my last pumpkin, and we're going to work a double crochet into each of the last 2 stitches from row 1. So I'm going in this stitch here and I'm catching this last chain, and then I'm going to do a double crochet into the same stitch that we slip stitched in row 2, so this space here, and do a double crochet. So that's the end of row 3, and we're now going to put a stitch marker back in this loop to keep this colour on hold whilst we do the stalks of the pumpkin. So I've pulled up my green end of yarn ready to go to join. So I'm going to turn my work over and we can have a look at these pumpkins that we've made. There you can see, because we've done these double crochets over the top of that chains, it kind of pushes the clusters down to form bobble stitches. Yeah, I really like that effect. So we're going to join our green yarn just the same as we did at the beginning of row 2 with our orange yarn. So I'm going to put my crochet hook into the top of that first stitch, lay my yarn over the top and pull it through. Then lay my yarn tail across my hook, ready to catch it with our first chain to make sure it's secured into place. Start with a chain of 2, this doesn't count as a stitch. Then we're going to single crochet into the stitch that's between our 2 pumpkins. So there are 2 cluster stitches here. We're actually going into the top of this cluster stitch on this side here, but it's easy to find because it's that stitch there at the center of the pumpkin. So my hook's going in there, and I'm making a single crochet while catching this chain from row 3. I'm going to do a single crochet. Next, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we're going to do a single crochet into the next pumpkin, catching this chain in our stitch. So I'm putting my hook in there, making a single crochet, skipping all the stitches in between. And repeat this along, working 5 chains, then a single crochet into the top of your pumpkin. And I'll meet you at the end of the row once you've done your final single crochet. Once you've made a single crochet into the top of your final pumpkin, make a chain of 2, 1, 2, then make a slip stitch into the top of the last stitch, so that starting chain from row 3. So I'm slip stitching in there. Then we're going to fasten off just like we did at the end of row 2. So chain 1, cut the yarn, use the hook to pull the end through and give it a pull. So that's that colour joined. You are going to have to go back and weave in the ends of all the orange and the green colours, but we are going to be continuing the beige all the way up. You don't ever have to cut the beige colour. So for row 5, we're going to pick up this beige colour again. I've not turned my work or anything, I'm just going back to the start of the row and putting my hook into that stitch there. Start row 5 with a chain of 3. This counts as your first double crochet stitch. Then work a double crochet into the next stitch, catching that green chain just like we've done previously. So I'm going in that stitch there, making sure I'm catching this green chain with my stitch. Next, work a half double crochet into the top of the single crochet, so that green stitch there, I'm making a half double crochet. Like that. Then next, we're going to be working into the space down here to make sure our stitch count is correct for the next row. So we're adding an extra stitch in here. So we're going to make a double crochet into that chain space there, catching the green chain as well. So that's what it looks like front and back. I've caught that green chain. Then work a double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches, catching the green chain. So I'm working my stitches in these 4 stitches, just like we did on row 3, and catching the chain. My 3rd double crochet and my 4th double crochet. Next, work a half double crochet into the next green stitch, so that single crochet there, work a half double crochet, and then a double crochet into the chain space here next to the pumpkin, catching the green chain. And then repeat this across, working a double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches, catching the green chain, a half double crochet into the green single crochet, and then a double crochet into the chain space from row 3. Continue that all the way along until you've just done that double crochet into the last chain space, and then meet me back here and I'll show you how we finish off the row. So I've continued working along, and you can see that the green between the pumpkin does peek out slightly between your stitches, but once you've got a whole piece of crochet like this one, it's really not very obvious. So next we're going to work a double crochet into each of the last 2 stitches, crocheting over the top of the green chain. So I'm going in there, catching that green chain, and then my last stitch is in the same space that we slip stitched into at the end of row 4. So that's the end of row 5, and this pumpkin can be worked as a 4-row repeat. So you can go back and work rows 2, 3, 4 and 5 over and over again. However, that means that your pumpkins will all be stacked up on top of each other, whereas in this sample what I did is I offset my pumpkins slightly, and I do that by working a greater number of stitches and chains at the start and end of the row to kind of push the pumpkins over a little bit so that they're offset in this nice diamond pattern. So I will quickly run through how I do that. Apart from more stitches or chains at the start and end of the row, these pumpkins are exactly the same as these pumpkins here. They're made in exactly the same way. So for row 6, I'm just going to place this stitch on hold. Then I'm going to turn my work over. And we're going to join the orange colour just like we did at the start of row 2. So I've joined my orange yarn to the first stitch just like we did previously, and at the start of row 2 we started with 2 chains. To make those pumpkins offset, start this row with 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next, skip 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and into each of the next 2 stitches work a 4 double crochet cluster, just exactly the same as we did on row 2. Now most of the rest of the row is exactly the same as the rest of row 2, so 2 4 double crochet clusters, chain 4, skip 4 all the way along, and then you're going to do your last pumpkin about here with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches left remaining, so I will meet you here. So I've just worked my last 2 4 double crochet clusters, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches remaining. My final stitch is a chain 3. So to finish off this row, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then slip stitch in the top of the starting chain, that last stitch, and then fasten off just as we've done previously. Then come back and I'll show you the differences in row 7. So I fastened off my orange and I've put my hook into that stitch we had on hold with a stitch marker. So start row 7 with a chain of 3, that counts as your first double crochet stitch. So this row is almost the same as row 3, but instead of starting and ending the row with 2 double crochets, we're starting and ending the row with 5 double crochets. So I'm going to work a double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches, catching that orange chain with my stitch as I go. So you can see I'm catching it there with my stitches. So there's my 5 double crochets whilst catching the chain. So the next part of the row is the same as row 3. So we chain 2, skip the pumpkin, and we work a double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches from row 5 down here, catching that orange chain. So continue repeating this across your row until you've just done your final chain 2 at the top of your final pumpkin. So I've continued working that all the way across, and then our final stitches we're going to be working 5 double crochets. So I'm catching this chain here and I'm working a double crochet into the last 5 stitches. My final stitch will be in the top of the starting chain where we did the slip stitch from the row below. So I'm going to finish this row off and then I'm going to join my green colour ready for the next row, and I'll show you the differences there. So to start row 4 we started with a chain of 2. For this one we're going to be starting with a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then make a single crochet into the top of the pumpkin just like we did in row 4, catching that chain there. Then make a chain of 5, skip all the stitches, and then work a single crochet into the top of your pumpkin. Repeat that across, and then I'll meet you at the final pumpkin and I'll show you our final chain. So we're going to finish off with a chain of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then a slip stitch in the top of the starting chain, so that final stitch there. I'm doing a slip stitch in there. Then I'm going to fasten off just as we did previously and go back, put my hook in this loop, ready to work row 9, the final row of our 8 row repeat. So for row 9, start with a chain of 3, this counts as your first double crochet stitch. Now work a double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches from row 7, catching that green chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then work a half double crochet into the green single crochet. Then a double crochet into the chain space next to the pumpkin down here to this side of the green stitch, catching this chain. So I'm working a double crochet in that space there, catching this chain. Then work a double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches, catching the chain. And then repeat this across just like we did in row 4, and I'll meet you once we're almost at the end of the row. So I've just done my last double crochet after a pumpkin stalk, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches left unworked from row 7. So I'm going to work a double crochet into each of them, catching that chain, and my final double crochet will be in the top of this starting chain where we did that slip stitch in the last row. So if I was going to continue on with this sample now, I would pop a stitch marker in my loop, and then I would go back and work row 2, and I would repeat rows 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 over and over again until your crochet piece is the size you want it to be. Let me know down in the comments what you're going to make with this stitch. I think it would make a really, really beautiful cup cozy. So if anyone does that, please, please, please send me a photo. Anyways, I'll see you again next week for another autumn inspired tutorial.